Hi, how are you? So tonight we're going to talk about the lesson plan, and let me share my screen. I always like to start with showing you what the test covers, right? Because some of you guys are brand new and don't know yet. So this is the free Texas NES Science manual, which is available on the same website where you go to register for the test. So you can see the biggest part of the test is instruction and assessment. All of this part is in English, and it's on second language acquisition theories, models, and experts. So over a third of the test has nothing to do with Spanish, which is why everybody has to study for this test, right? Even if Spanish is your first language, you have to learn this part. Cultural understanding, most people do well on, that's 8%. We have listening and reading, each at 16.7%. Most people do pretty well on those. And then written expression and oral expression, 12%. Most people need help on these. They either are using the wrong tone, the wrong register, or sometimes they're not hitting the objective. So those are all things I work with people on in tutoring to make sure they're hitting the objective and using proper formal Spanish, because most of us spoke Spanish at home but went to school in the US. So our Spanish is more informal, right? And we have to work on getting it to the level for the test. So those are things I focus on. And so a lot of people I hear from say they took the test without studying because Spanish is their first language, right? And so they think they don't need to study for this test. But let's look at this. This is the passing rate that the state releases for the years 2017 to 2022. If we look at LOTE Spanish, the passing rate was only 40% in 2021, 2022. And if you can tell, it's been going down, right? So it's really important to study and make sure you're ready for this test, right? If we compare it to other tests, it's a much lower pass rate. You can see the other tests have higher pass rates, right? So it's a challenging test. I don't want to scare you, but I just want you to know you do need to prepare yourself accordingly, because look at all of these numbers that are higher. I think there's only one test that has a lower pass rate, that if I remember correctly, almost all of them have, no, there's a couple, but almost all of them have lower higher passing rates. So anyways, that's what the test covers. But tonight I thought we would talk about the lesson plan. So you might have noticed the lesson plan is not listed on here. Well, it's part of this right here. It's 4% of this. And another 4% is the essay in English. And then the remaining 26.6% is the instruction and assessment or pedagogy questions, things on second language acquisition theories, models, and experts like Stephen Krashen, Noam Chomsky, the Flex and Plus models, things like that you have to study and learn. But let me make sure nobody's having a hard time getting into the chat, because I should have a lot more people here. Okay. Can you hear me okay? Is my connection working okay? All right, so the lesson plan, like I said, is 4%. You have to know things like the ACTFL levels. You have to know how to write lesson plan with different activities. You have to hit the objective, make it appropriate. So let's look at one that's advanced that would earn a perfect score, right? So this part they give you right here, all of this is given to you: the school grade, the student profile, the proficiency level, the topic, the objective, and the length of the class periods. That's all given to you. So they tell you you're teaching 5th year Spanish. They're 16 to 18 years old. Their proficiency level, that's the ACTFL levels that we study in my course in tutoring. They're advanced low to advanced mid, right? The topic is drama. The objective, students will use interpersonal communication and writing to show their understanding of a play. So interpersonal communication means they're having a conversation. So there needs to be two-way communication, somebody talking and somebody listening and answering. 3 classes of 50 minutes each. That means you need to write enough activities to fill up 3 days. Materials, Frayer models. Those are graphic organizers that you can use to help students learn vocabulary. Video, copies of La Casa de Bernalda Alba. If you haven't read it, I really recommend you read it, and you can get it for free online. It's a great play, very interesting. And it's kind of quick. You could read it in one evening. It's not going to take you days to read it unless you just split it up a lot. It's a pretty quick read. Vocabulary. All of your vocabulary words need to be related to the play that you pick, right? Now, what if you don't know a play in Spanish? That's why it's really important to prepare for this. You should know a play in Spanish, a short story. You should know a poem and a fable, right? Because if you don't know all of those, you might not do well on a test, right? If you get a lesson plan about a poem or a play. Now, some people tell me they just pick one that they know in English, but you're probably not going to get full credit if you do that. There's lots of plays in the target language. So you want to pick one that's written in Spanish originally, not one like Romeo and Juliet or something. If you just can't think of one and you have to do it like that, well, then you have to. But it's much better to use things that were originally written in Spanish than to write it about something that was translated, right? So your vocabulary words need to be related to the play that you choose, right? Now, I want to caution you. Sometimes I pick a topic that's the same as the topic that comes out on the test, right? So maybe you get one that's also on drama, on a play, but your objective is not going to be the same as the one that I do. So you can't use this same lesson plan because maybe yours says they use presentational communication. Well, then you have to have them presenting, right? Or maybe yours says it focuses on interpretive communication. So you can't just use this one. You have to make sure that yours hits the objective. So we have vocabulary words. Notice I wrote them in English and in Spanish. I use my accent marks and diacritic marks, right? Envidia, envy, pasión, suicidio, vergüenza, herencia, obsesión. Right? So if you don't know about this play, I'll tell you really briefly about it. That way it makes more sense, right? So it's about a woman named Bernarda Alba, and she's a widow, and she has 5 daughters. And the oldest one is 39. The youngest one, I can't remember exactly. She's like 20 or something, really young. And the oldest one had a different dad, her first husband, who died and left an inheritance to her. So she's got money. The other 4 daughters are from the second husband. He did not leave much money. So they don't have anything, right? But she wants to keep up with appearances and pretend like they do. She won't let her daughters date anybody because she says nobody in town is good enough for her daughters, right? So they're not allowed to date. So you can imagine there's lots of pent up frustration in that house, right? Because here they are, all of age, and they're not allowed to date. Well, 3 of them fall in love with the same man, Pepe Romano. And he is supposed to marry the oldest, not because he's in love with her, but because she's got money, right? But he's actually having a relationship with the youngest, who's very in love with him. The oldest doesn't know about it for most of the play. She doesn't know that he's seeing both of them. And then one of the other sisters also has a crush on him. So 3 out of 5 have something for him, right? And anyways, as the play goes on, there's lots of jealousy, things like that. And then the oldest finds out, I think her name is Angustias. She finds out that he's seeing the youngest, and they get into an argument, right? The mom comes out to break up the argument, not because she's really not, it's not that she really cares that they're arguing, but she doesn't want the neighbors to hear, right? She wants to give the appearance of having a perfect family. So she breaks up the argument. And at that precise moment, Pepe Romano is leaving their place, right? And this is a walled house. Like if you've ever been to places like Spain and Mexico where they have, instead of a fence, they have walls around their house. So he leaves on his horse outside of out of the walled community, the wild house, and she shoots at him and she misses, but she comes back in and tells them that she killed him, right? So they think he's dead. And the youngest, who's madly in love with him, hangs herself, right? So that's why we have suicidio here, right? We have all of these words because they're all related to what I'm talking about. Well, what happens? The mom comes out and sees that her daughter hanged herself. But remember, all she really cares about is appearances. So instead of crying because her daughter is dead, she starts crying and shouting, "My daughter died a virgin, dress her in white." And that's how it ends. So it's all about appearances, right? But anyways, that's the backstory. That way you understand about my lesson plan, right? So day one, the teacher will pre-teach vocabulary and students will fill out prayer models. You always want to talk about how you'll teach vocabulary. That's very important. If you don't do that, I think you will lose points. They read the first half of the play. Then in small groups, they will discuss what they understood about the play and write a paragraph reflecting about it. Remember, the objective says interpersonal communication and writing to show their understanding of the play. So I've already done that with day one, right? Day two, the teacher will review the vocabulary words. They will read the second half of the play out loud. Then in small groups, they will ask each other questions. That's interpersonal communication to check their understanding and write a short summary of the second half of the play. Notice this is an advanced lesson plan. They should be able to write a summary when they're advanced, right? Day three, they will watch a film of the play. Then they will discuss it as a class and write a reflection comparing the play to the film. So everything I did set them up for the objective, got them ready for it, and then addresses the objective, right? Assessment. The informal assessment is when the teacher circulates listening to the small group discussion on day one. The formal assessment is the reflection written on day three. You only have to have one assessment is what they say, but I think it's good to have both. So I know some of you guys already from my course in tutoring, and I'm always happy to see y'all again. If you don't know me yet, I help people pass the LOTE. I pass the LOTE, and on Wednesday nights, we meet for a whole hour and we go over the pedagogy, the reading, writing, listening, speaking. And next week on Wednesday, we'll be going over a different lesson plan. So, you know, like I said, you might get a poem, you might get a short story, you might get a fable. So we're going to go over some different ones to make sure you're ready for everything, right? That's my job, is to make sure you know what to do to get ready. So if you're not comfortable with writing lesson plans on all those things, then you know, you either need to do some homework or you need to join my course in tutoring so you can learn more about how to write a good lesson plan about a poem. And also learn the pedagogy and all the things you need to do. And like I said, most people need help on their writing and speaking too. Even if Spanish is their first language, I still have to help them either polish it or focus on the objective, or both, right? So very few people are just ready for the LOTE. It doesn't happen much. Like, I had just finished a master's degree in Spanish, so I was ready for all the Spanish part when I took the LOTE, but I wasn't ready for the pedagogy. So I spent a lot of time doing my own research because there really weren't that many materials available when I took the test. So I had to do lots and lots of research on all of those first three competencies to make sure I was ready, right? And then I decided to put it together and share it with other people to help them pass. So yeah, it's really important to get ready for all domains because like a couple weeks ago when the score reports came out, I heard from 6 people I've counted now. At first I thought it was just 5, but now it's 6 people that took it, and they all knew me and had worked with me in some form or fashion, right? 4 of them passed. They did my course in tutoring and they did their assignments, they participated, they did everything. 2 of them bought the course only, which is still a good option, right? But they didn't do their assignments. They only did, like, I think one of them did 1 assignment and one of them did 2, but there's 9 assignments in my course. So you need to do all of them to have a good chance of passing. And they did not pass. And there's no coincidence there, right? Because they didn't really get ready. They were overly confident in their Spanish abilities. And like I said, it doesn't really matter if you're really good at Spanish, you still have to get ready for this test because the timing also matters. So in my course, I tell you, set your timer for 50 minutes and try to write all 3 of these tasks in 50 minutes. Set your timer for 35 minutes and try to write your lesson plan and your essay, right? And then that way you can be ready. So we have a great group that meets on Wednesdays. And I think that's the best way to get ready, is to do the course in tutoring. And you get full access to my course, and you can send me assignments every week. As long as you're paying every week, I continue to grade assignments, and I can give you more assignments if you finish all the ones in the course. Lots of pedagogy. I've been beefing up the course. It's got even more reading and listening in it now. Got some new resources with passages about different countries, different traditions, and different like indigenous gods and things like that might come up on the cultural questions, right? So it gets you ready for all domains. And that's $39 a week, and includes my grading and feedback, the tutoring, and full access to the course. So it's a really good value. And then a lot of the people that do my Wednesday night, they come on Thursday nights too. So I'm surprised we don't have more people tonight. We just have a few. But most of them come, or they at least watch the recording, right? So that way they can study with me twice a week. And on Wednesday nights, we meet for a whole hour. So it's a lot more in-depth than the free tutoring. But some people don't want tutoring, and they're real self-directed, and that's fine too. I do have people that pass with the course only. In fact, Adriana passed a couple months ago. She did the course only, but she did meet with me for private tutoring once, because she wanted to make sure she was ready for everything, but she didn't want the group tutoring, so she didn't do that. And you still get full access to the course. The videos, practice questions, reading, writing, listening, speaking. You still do one of each assignment. You just don't do as many assignments. And you just pay a one-time fee of $119. You get it for 3 whole months. So most people take it in less than 3 months of contacting me. So that I feel like that's a good amount of time for most people to study. And then these are some people that have passed. I don't have the newest people on here yet, but that's Adriana that passed doing the course. And then Ricardo did the course and the tutoring. And they both passed and sent me messages, right? And now Adriana, she did so well on her test and she also passed the VTLPT. She's a really hard charger. I asked her to grade for me. So you might see her name on some of your assignments starting this week. I trained her. And so you might see her name, or you might see my name, but she's well able to grade your assignments and get some different feedback from somebody other than me, right? Who took the test more recently. And they're both already teaching. They both already have jobs. Ricardo was hired immediately after getting his results, like within a week. Adriana was already teaching before she took the LOTE. Some people are teaching before. So she already had a job, but this allowed her to keep her job, right? And I know how exciting it is when you're getting certified. I remember that. But I also remember how overwhelming and frustrating it is trying to get ready for a test when you're working full time. And even harder if you have kids that you're taking care of. I wasn't taking care of kids when I did that, but I was pregnant, which is also really hard, right? So it's hard. So that's why I think it's really important to either carve out time to do your studying on your own and all of your research, or if your time is really limited, then get a course that has stuff for you, right? To save yourself time. So that's where I come in. I can save you time and effort. So you're not doing all the research and gathering resources. It's all in one place. And before I used to say, okay, you probably need some different reading and listening, but now I'm adding more stuff all the time. So I feel like you've got a lot of resources in my course, a lot of reading and listening. But that's about it for tonight. But if you are frustrated, overwhelmed, or anything like that, and you're in my tutoring, please let me know so I can help you. If you're not in my tutoring and you want to join because you're frustrating or overwhelmed, please let me know and I can help you and get enrolled. But I am here to help. But I think most people in my course in tutoring don't feel frustrated or overwhelmed, because we meet every week. You get the feedback quickly, and I'm here to help if you need it. So, and I will tell you the truth too. Like I had to tell one lady today that her writing is she's not quite ready, so I encouraged her to give herself some extra time to get ready and keep sending you more assignments, right? Nothing wrong with that. So I won't tell you only the good stuff. But I'll do it nicely. That's why I called her instead of emailing her, right? So to tell her that she needs to keep working. She's more at an intermediate level, not at an advanced level of Spanish, but she'll get there. Any questions or comments? No? Well, I want to thank you guys for coming, and I'll see some of y'all Wednesday. Dalila, you have a question?
No, I'm gonna tell you, I renew my contract this for next year. So I'm
Great.
so excited, but still what you say, I feel frustrated because I wish to pass my test so I don't have to worry about it. But
Well,
yes,
I looked at your assignments today, and we can talk tomorrow on the phone if you want to.
okay,
Adriana also looked at them, because right now what I'm having her do is she's looking at them and she's telling me how she would grade them, but I make sure she's on the right track, right? Because she's still learning. And I found that she's a little bit more, I don't know how you would say it. She's more rigorous, right? Like she's pickier than I am, I guess you could say, right? So I'm definitely going to catch your mistakes and everything. But how many weeks of tutoring? Oh yeah, many weeks? I'll tell you in just 1 second. So I was working with her. I'm like, okay, give her feedback on what she was going to say to you before she says it. So I don't know if she sent you feedback yet or not, but I asked her to do it when she gets a chance. And then tomorrow, if you want to give me a call, I'll be happy to go over what I think with you. And that way we can make sure, you're not feeling frustrated. I don't want you to be frustrated or overwhelmed, and definitely take advantage of that test anxiety course too, right? And how long do you need to do my course in tutoring? Now, it really depends. If you've taken the test before and you have like a 235, you probably only need 4 weeks, right? And 4 weeks will cover all topics. We'll cover reading, writing, listening, speaking, pedagogy, everything. But if you're coming to me with like a 210 or a 220, well, I can't work magic. It takes a few months to get better at a language, right? So if you're struggling with accent marks, if your speaking is more informal, right? If you're saying things like carpeta when you mean carpet, right? But the word is we want to say alfombra for things like that. If you're using words that what we use here in Texas, but are not the proper formal Spanish, like saying lonche instead of almuerzo, then I'll work with you on those things, right? And then sometimes people conjugate wrong. They don't realize they're conjugating wrong, but they are, right? Especially if you grew up here, right? Then you might be making some mistakes that you don't even know are mistakes. Another one they do is they say no mas, but no mas is not, oh, great, a native speaker. Oh, that's great. So you're going to be in an advantage. What will be harder for you is probably the pedagogy, instruction, and assessment, because that's in English, right? And you only get 45 minutes to answer 45 questions. So that's fast, even if English is your first language, but it's super fast if English is your second language, right? So that is really important to learn that and get fast. That's what was so hard for Ricardo, because he's from Mexico City. Spanish is phenomenal, but he really had a hard time with the pedagogy. Also, even though his Spanish is better than mine, he would lose points on the writing and speaking because he'd get off topic. He was thinking he was on topic, but he wasn't. Like on the opinion, he was giving the pros and cons of each side. You don't do that. They ask you to pick one opinion and stick with it, right? So if you're a completely native speaker, you know your accent marks, you know Spanish really well, and you're close, then a month is enough time, in my opinion. As long as you put in the time every day to learn the pedagogy, you got to learn that stuff really well. But that's something you can learn in a few weeks, because that's just memorizing, right? But learning the language, that takes longer. So as long as your English is also strong, right? If your English isn't strong, well, then you're going to have a hard time on pedagogy. That's going to be hard. So you have to make sure you're really good at both English and Spanish. But I'll send can do it right now, the link for my course in tutoring, in case you want to to sign up because, if you sign up tonight, I'll send you some extra lesson plans too. But there's no pressure to sign up tonight, but it's good to do it sooner rather than later, because as soon as you enroll, you get access to the course, right? And you can start studying right away. So you don't have to wait till Wednesday to start studying. In fact, I would recommend you start right away. So you want to be studying every day, logging on and watching those pedagogy videos every day, reading through the material, taking the quizzes, all of that. You want to try to get 80% or higher on everything. But yeah, but I work with people like in every category, right? Native, heritage, second language learners. In fact, we've got a good mix here, right? Because Kathy's like me, second language learner. We've got native speaker. We've got it all. So, but anyways, I guess I better go because I've got another session starting at 9:30. So I've got to open up all my files for that. But thank you guys so much. I'll send the recording tonight in case you want to look over that lesson plan again. And I'll send the link to enroll. But if you have any questions, you can call me tomorrow and I'd be happy to help you. But thanks so much. Thank you. Bye.